Over the past week, I've been dealing with every artist's nightmare, art block. Unlike in the past when I dealt with art block, I usually could tell if it was because I overworked myself to the point that I was simply creatively exhausted, but this time was different. I wasn't struggling with drawing anything, but instead my mind was being overloaded trying to decide on what the right thing to draw was. When I realized what was really going on, I was able to stop a very terrible habit from forming that a lot of artists can suffer from, whether they be on a beginner level or a pro. I'm going to tell you what this habit is, or rather what this thought process is, and how I personally broke it. Now, before I made this video, I was working on a different tutorial video on animation. Now, I may still release that video in the future, but when I was writing the script for it, I wasn't really enjoying it, like I have with recent videos where I'm simply talking about my life and experiences trying to become an indie artist. And I had to reevaluate what exactly I wanted this channel to be and what was the kind of content I wanted to create and why. So I decided to really think about this question and come up with an answer, and I found the answer by revisiting the time I was just starting out as an artist. When I was just starting out as an artist, one of my main goals was to create a massive long-running fantasy series, and this was mainly because of the inspiration that I got from watching series like One Piece. But that series is something I am still developing to this day, and I would work every single day on character designs and story elements, and I wanted as many people as I could get to experience this story, and I still do. But I wasn't hyper fixated on how many people would read or watch my story. I was more simply enjoying the process of creating it. At the same time, I believe that the only way my story would be truly successful was if I had a large following who was interested and supported me throughout its creation, which in itself is fairly true in many ways. If you look at projects like Hazbin Hotel and Lackadaisy, which had a large following before their animated pilots were launched, and the massive fan reception that has led them to the success both series are currently experiencing. But for me, that thought shifted my goals and priorities from the creation of my story to gaining likes and follows on social media. So since I had this goal in mind, I watched a lot of videos of successful artists who had the large following that I had aspired to gain, and they would explain ways in which beginner artists could gain a following for themselves. Now, at the time I had these goals, social media was nowhere near as bad as it is today, and gaining a following still required hard work and consistency. But now, even for those same artists with a way larger following than me, can barely get their content seen on social media by the people who actually follow them due to these god-awful algorithms that change on a daily basis. And now I've seen many artists say that they are simply not trying to learn or beat these algorithms anymore because they just don't see the point. And I want to say this too, I 100% hate social media. At best, it can get your name and your work out there, and at worst, it can be a huge distraction and a time waster. It can cause you to focus more on appeasing algorithms and trends than truly being your creative self. And that is why I was struggling so much with choosing between what I believe I needed to draw for views and attention, and what I truly wanted to draw to make myself happy as a creative. This idea that art isn't something that I did because I love doing it, but instead a means to get more clicks and likes on posts, reels, and videos, put this overwhelming and frankly unnecessary pressure on me that caused me to be stuck in a cycle of frustration and indecisiveness. Now, when I encounter a moment when I'm struggling with art block, I would usually revisit the things that made me want to be an artist and animator in the first place. Or sometimes I would simply have to step away and take a break from art for a while, but I would have to be mindful not to turn my break from drawing into a form of procrastination, and eventually what was meant to be a short break turns into a month without drawing. But every now and then, I would get out my old sketchbooks and go through the pages to see my progress throughout the years. But over this past week, when I was going through some of my old sketches, memories began to flood in my head, and the emotions I felt when I was drawing those sketches that were very bad sketches in retrospect. But at the time, I didn't care, because the only thing I was focused on was improving my skills and creating my own unique characters and stories. I wasn't focused on posting my art to Instagram. I wasn't even considering whether or not other people will read or even see these stories at the time. I wasn't even considering whether or not other people will read or even see these stories and characters. Because I wasn't creating for others, I was doing it for me. There were even some sketches that filled multiple pages, all from the same day. And I had to ask myself, where did the passion I had as a young artist go? And I realized that when I was trying to create art now, it was as if I was putting on a show or performance instead of actually creating things I love to create. That's when I made the decision that from this point forward, no matter what, I was going to create the things I wanted to create and write the stories I want to tell, and use this channel as a sort of digital diary of my journey as an artist, so that one day I can look back at all the things I've learned and done, so when struggles like this happen down the road, because as long as I'm a creative person, art block is bound to happen, but how I deal with it can always improve if I remember how I dealt with it before. And another reason, and it's also a big aspect of this channel moving forward, and that's hopefully by expressing what I'm going through personally as a creative, it can inspire or help someone else through their creative journey. And I have to trust and believe that eventually the people who are truly interested in the things I plan to make and the community I want to build will find their way to me. But I'm no longer focusing on trends and studying ever-changing and most of the time unfair algorithm anymore. And I hope this inspires any of you young artists out there that feel like they're being overlooked. Don't let social media kill your creativity. Thank you guys for watching this video all the way to the end. I hope you got something out of it. And if you are a fellow artist and have dealt with some pretty bad experiences of art block in the past, but you still find a way to work through it, let us know how in the comments down below, and hopefully it can help someone else work through their own struggles. Thanks for sticking around, and I will see you guys in the next one.